Tuesday's Black Ops 4 update was a big fat nothing, especially for the consoles that are inferior on the basis of monetary compensation, because there were no new game modes for either multiplayer or Blackout except on the PS4, and by new I mean game modes that were shuffled out to make room for other limited time game modes that are now back again because Treyarch is the greenest company around, recycling old ideas constantly, and League play is still nowhere to be found in spite of an already delayed middle of the month deadline. However, the Activision investor call from yesterday has given us a lot of 411 to discuss, and most of it has almost nothing to do with Call of Duty. For the Call of Duty related news, they all but basically confirm Modern Warfare 4 with phrases like, quote,
rooted in franchise history,
and
is going to resonate very powerfully with our community,
with a, quote,
campaign, huge and expansive multiplayer world, and some fun co-op gameplay.
Activision also said that they have high expectations for the new game, but are being conservative on the sales projections to be lower than Black Ops 4, which somehow disappointed in spite of making nearly $500 million, Dr. Evil, of revenue in the first 3 days of sales. This brings me to the other part of the investor call where Activision's CEO said, quote,
while our financial results for 2018 were the best in our history, we didn't realize our full potential.
Therefore, they then later announced the layoff of nearly 800 people, even though they made more money in 2018 than any other fucking year. Net revenue was $7.5 billion compared with $7.02 billion in 2017, and net income was $1.8 billion compared with the only paltry $273 million in 2017. So you mean to tell me that net income was up by 6.5 times the previous year, yet it's somehow not enough for Activision to have people keep their fucking jobs? Additionally, Activision's new CFO, who by the way was hired in January, not only got a $900,000 annual salary with a 1.35 sign-on bonus, he will get nearly $15 million in sweeteners between stock options and other bonuses, along with Bobby Kotick, the CEO, making $30 million last year. I mean, just look at the salaries of the people in charge at Activision, yet layoffs are necessitated to restructure their business instead of restructuring their own goddamn pay for the piss-poor decisions that they themselves made? Are you fucking kidding me? These figures are a dizzying amount of money for one person, yet people are out on their ass after making the company a record amount of money? How the fuck does this even make sense? The people at the top making these asinine decisions get zero repercussions for their shitty actions, like forcing Destiny 2 into a game that demands players' credit cards more than their time before jettisoning that IP because it wasn't profitable enough, shipping Black Ops 4 without a single-player campaign because it's not as monetizable, making Diablo a mobile cash grab, game that was what no fucking buddy that played the franchise actually wanted, and chasing trends in a half-assed manner like shutting down Heroes of the Storm after the game didn't make them all of the same amounts of money that similar ones do because there are only so many of a game type that players can physically play. The late Satoru Iwata, CEO of Nintendo, halved his salary and had people on the board of directors for Nintendo take a pay cut instead of laying off people because, God forbid, the people that are compensated for making big decisions for their company actually take some fucking responsibility when things go awry. A video game crash is inevitable at this point because these giant publishing companies don't make games for gamers anymore. They make them for investors to make a shitload of money, which means that cutting corners and trying to wring blood money out of a stone is the way of the present and the future instead of actually making good games that consumers like. You can't grow ad infinitum at even bigger rates than in previous years, and in Activision's case, still somehow disappoint, because people do not have an infinite amount of time and money to put towards these video games. Maybe when you make $30 million a year, you don't quite grasp the fact that even though you do like playing Call of Duty games, you're not going to buy the $50 Black Ops Pass, which by the way has been the least amount of extra content delivered in the timeline it's set out on, despite promises that this year's Call of Duty was going to have more content than ever before, and you sure as shit aren't going to buy every $1 red dot microtransaction that they shit out in the store each day. How dumb can these well-compensated fucking morons that failed upwards be to not understand that in free-to-play games, people are actually willing to shell out more of this type of money because there isn't a price point barrier to entry. Stop putting free-to-play monetization schemes in full-price $60 fucking games. Even though there's outrage from gamers and games media journalists everywhere, investors actually responded well to the layoffs, and Activision stock actually went up after the news of people losing their jobs in spite of record revenues. This type of behavior is rewarded in this fucked up system, which is ridiculous. Not to mention that Activision gets out of their fair share paying taxes because of corporate business loopholes for tax havens that, when attempted to be closed, certain segments of the people point to as job-killing evils, in spite of evidence such as this anecdote to contradict their point. This dichotomy of continuous growth, along with cutting the staff of the very people that are responsible for for creating the product that leads to said growth revenue is unsustainable, hence a crash is imminent. While yes, I understand that there are jobs akin to the holiday staff ramp up on development projects that currently aren't in season and can be jettisoned, when you continue to make short-sighted decisions, you'll only get near-term relief because the people at the top that fail to see consequences for their actions don't actually know what the fuck they're doing. When you're dealing with this level of avarice and greed, logic and rational thinking goes out the fucking window chasing their green lust, and the worst part of it all is that the system rewards this type of fucked up behavior. Unchecked, unregulated, rampant corporate greed will be the downfall of the gaming industry. I hope that we as gamers recognize what happens behind the scenes and make informed decisions about products that we buy. Stop being shills and apologists for bullshit business practices like microtransactions, a dizzying amount of special editions and pre-order bonuses, and cutting content just to resell later. Companies need to stop blaming failures on complete nonsense to justify their increased shady monetization practices, like when EA blamed focus on single player and lack of battle royale on launch for Battlefield's somehow lower than expected yet 7.3 million copies of the game being sold, when the real issue is that EA shot themselves in the foot by rushing out a game that wasn't ready for launch just to make it in time for fiscal year 2018. Oh yeah, and that whole EA exec Patrick Soderlund saying don't buy the game and consumers actually fucking listen to him. Activision doesn't seem to have a fucking plan for 2019 either, with no Blizzard games, that mobile Diablo bullshit nonsense aside, remasters of some of their IPs instead of brand new efforts with Crash and Spyro, and just a new Call of Duty game to hang their hat on now that Destiny isn't under their slimy tentacles anymore. The problem isn't employing too many developers, it's the exact opposite. It's too much money in the hands of people that don't actually work on the fucking product and are immune from the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious decisions that they make. When I say that Activision is spelled with a $, this is exactly what I fucking mean. I thought that they hit rock bottom with the bastardization that was Modern Warfare reimagined by selling DLC for a remastered game and injecting microtransactions where there weren't any, but this is a new fucking low for them. Anyways, what do you think? I've been the Schwantz27, making like a banana and splitting. Until next time.